Hi, this is Coach Shawnee Lavender, and in this video I want to talk about discipline and our children. Now, specifically I'm talking about disciplining our children. Now, let me first start off and tell you what I do not mean by discipline. Because if we're not on the same page with discipline, it's going to be difficult to talk about disciplining our children. So when I say discipline, I am not talking about punishment. Now, the reason for this is actually severalfold. One, punishment is not in alignment with my values and the values that I express through my work as a parent coach. The second reason that I'm not talking about punishment is that when punishment is used, it can be effective in changing behavior, that is true. However, it comes with a cost that is not acceptable to me. So you can change behavior in other ways without the same cost that punishment affects. So I don't think punishment is needed in families. I don't think it's appropriate. And it also harms the kind of relationships that I want to help create in the world, which are mutually respectful and mutually trusting relationships. Punishment absolutely is going to negate the building of those kind of relationships. So there's no need for punishment. It doesn't work, it's not effective, and it's not going to help you get what you want in the long run. So discipline is not punishment. Discipline is also not having your children automatically do whatever you say. Now, let's admit, I'm a parent too, and there are definitely times when I would like my daughter to simply do exactly what I've asked. So we can admit that and be really honest and say, yes, there are parts of us that do have those times, and maybe it's even often, but that we have that within us where we just want it to be easy and please do what I say. So now that we've admitted that we do have that, discipline is not our children doing that, because that is controlling them. That's compliance and obedience, which, again, sometimes it's nice to have in the moment. And in the long run, when you think about your child being an adult, do you really want them to be obedient to a spouse who is abusive to them? I don't think so. Do you want them to, at their employment, at their job, do you want them to, when they are asked to do something that is in violation of their values or the ethics that they have, would you want them to say yes to that and just, yes, I have to do that? I don't think so. So again, in the long run, if we want our children to be able to grow into adults who have the capacity, who have the practice and the know-how to be people who live in alignment with their values, who can be discerning in the choices they make, then they need to practice along the way. They can't just develop that skill at age 25 when they're out of the house. You know, oh, yay, great, they have that. It's not the way it works. You've got to practice it along the way. So discipline is not automatic obedience. So those are the two things discipline is not. So let's talk about what is it then? If it's not those things, what is it? So when I say discipline, what I mean is guiding your child to behaviors that are appropriate for your family and away from behaviors that are not a fit for your family. Discipline can be seen as synonymous with teaching, learning, inspiring certain actions, helping them not do other actions. So it is about this teaching, this learning aspect, but it's not the other things I talked about. So now that we know what we're talking about, we get to figure out, well, how can we be effective as disciplinarians in our family, as guides, as teachers, as leaders? And so that's what I want to talk about now. When we talk about discipline as guidance, there are really a couple of things, broadly speaking, that we want to keep in mind if we want to be effective in our discipline. And so that's what I'm going to share. So number one, the student, which in this case is our child, and I mean the student of our learning, the student of our teaching, that person, our child, needs to be ready to learn and open to learning. So they need to be ready to learn and open to learning. So let me tell you what I mean by that specifically. So they need to be at a developmental stage and a developmental ability to be able to take in our information and effectively do it. So let me put a couple clarifications. Yes, sometimes we have our children who they are able to do certain things, not at random necessarily, but not on a consistent basis. So yes, the other day they really listened well and they were able to control some impulses and not hit their brother when their brother took their toy. However, if that's a young child, let's say a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, they, and even sometimes older, they are not going to have really effective and consistent impulse control. So just because they did it yesterday doesn't mean they're going to be as effective at it every day. So their developmental stage really is a big thing to consider. Is what you're asking of them something that they are really capable of doing on a consistent basis without other supervision, without walking them through the process, things like that. The second thing within this idea of are they ready to learn and open to learn is their brain state. Now, I have some other materials on this, so I'm not going to go into it in a lot of detail, but the bottom line is this, that human beings, we are most effective and most efficient when we are in our human brain, the prefrontal cortex, the part of us that we think of as really human. Our rationality, our reasoning, our problem-solving abilities, and self-control, things like that. So, young children and even older children do not fully have this part of their brain online. In fact, that part doesn't really come online, research is now saying, till the mid-20s or so. So if you've got a child under the age of 25, let's say, they don't fully have this in working order all the time. So that means that they are somewhat diminished in terms of their ability to always fully comprehend, to understand, and to be able to demonstrate or repeat behaviors that we're asking of them. The other piece about brain state is that under stress, our brain state goes down. So in other words, when we are stressed by any means, so we're hungry, we're lonely, we're tired, there's been some agitation in our lives, those things decrease our ability to be in this human brain. So often, and I have another video about the #1 discipline mistake that parents make, and it's this idea that we tend to want to teach in the moment. When something's going wrong, we're getting in there and trying to rationalize and explain it. Well, when our child is under stress, which is usually happening in that moment, their brain is very unprepared to take in the messages, the teaching that we're attempting to accomplish. So the bottom line with this is are they in a brain state? Are they in this human brain that is most open and receptive to learning? The third piece of their readiness and openness to learning is for them to be bonded with us. Now you think, oh wait, I'm their parent. Of course they're bonded with me. They love me. I love them. Yes. And we are designed as human beings to be open to the influence of others to whom we are connected, and specifically connected in that moment. So if you've been away at work all day and you come home and there's toys strewn about and you then go into this, hey, we need to pick up the toys, blah, 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 it's very likely that your child is not bonded with you. They haven't seen you all day. So yes, you're their parent, but they don't have that sense of, hey, we're in this together. So you really want to be bonded with them in the moment before you're attempting to guide them, to teach them, to move them towards certain behaviors or away from other behaviors. And the number one thing you need to know about this step is that if this step, their readiness to learn and openness to learning, if it is not in place, if they're not ready, do not proceed, do not go forward, because if they're not ready, basically, you're simply wasting your time because they're not ready. So don't use your time that way. It's just go get on Facebook, go do something, go read a book, teach later. The second thing you want to know about how to be most effective when you are disciplining and giving that guidance is about your side of it, your communication. So the message you send needs to have these components. First, it needs to be clear and concise. Now, I'm a talker and I'm very verbal, and so for somebody like me and somebody who has a child who understands a lot of things, it is easy to sometimes put out more information, maybe give them 3 instructions, than it is for me to hold back and say just one thing at a time. So don't do that. Stay clear, stay concise. Give one instruction at a time, give one piece at a time. It may be that what you're wanting to teach is over several occasions, several instances. So focus on something small and concise to begin with. The second thing, you want to make sure that your message is free of coercion. And by that I mean we all have this instinct internally to resist what we believe is somebody else attempting to force us to do what they want us to do. So if your child is perceiving that, and they will because they can pick up on it, then it's going to be much more likely that they are going to push back against what you're asking for them. So you want to be free of coercion, really make it something that is optional for them to be able to decide to do or not to do. So that you want to make sure you're doing. And finally, you want to make sure, it sort of goes back to the developmental piece, is it doable for them? Is it something that they can reasonably do by themselves? Do they need some support? You want to be really conscious of that. So that's what I have to say about discipline. And so let me just recap it. Number 1, it is not punishment. Number 2, it is not having your child be automatically obedient every time you make a request of them. What discipline is the ability to guide them towards behaviors that work for your family or away from behaviors that don't work for you. So when you want to guide them and teach them and have them learn what you are guiding them and teaching them about, the number one thing you want to make sure is in place is that they are ready to learn and that they are open to learning. And within that, you want to think about the developmental stage that they're at, the brain state they're currently in, and the strength of the current bond of connection that you have with them. Now, if those things are in place and are appropriate, if they are ready to learn and open to learning from you, then and only then do you proceed with teaching. And then with your teaching, you want to make sure that your message is clear and concise, free of coercion, and doable for them. So those are my tips for how to be an effective disciplinarian with your child. It's a much different way than you probably thought of it before, or than maybe other people in your community think of it. And if you would like to talk more about this, feel free to post a comment. If you would like support in parenting in this way, because it is not the conventional wisdom, it's not the way that the broader society does it, because there's a lot of reasons, because I'm not going to go into them in this video, but if you want some support in that, I'd love to talk to you about how you can be an effective parent in a way that is aligned with your values, is respectful of your child now, and helps build a really connected relationship for now and for years to come with your family. My name is Shani Lavender. I'm the Conscious Moms Coach. You can find more information in the links with this video. You can find me online, and so please feel free to follow up. I'm always glad to engage in positive dialogue with folks. So thanks for taking this time to listen, and I wish you a wonderful day.